I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here this morning. If we all band together to do something that's positive for the children, it can only have positive results. We have the NAACP, AXO, Peekskill Youth Bureau, Acme Innovates, A-List Event, Project 105. Mila over here, she's behind the camera too. She's doing our fashion show today.
The real mission is to get the community together, share all these resources that are accessible to our youth, but have them under one roof.
So, I will let Dr. Reynolds take over here. Thank you for being here this year.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us and for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here today to sit with this distinguished panel. What I would like to do is give everybody about 10 or 15 seconds to tell us what school you go to, what grade you're in, and tell us your names, please. So we'll start at the end of the table, and if you look right at the camera and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Lena. I'm in 7th grade and I go to AMD.
Hi, I'm Monique Cole and I'm a junior and I go to Austin High School.
Hi, I'm Julia Buchanan. I am a sophomore in Austin High School.
I'm Caitlin Bhattacharya. I'm in 6th grade at AMD.
I'm Adila Banta. I'm a junior and I go to Austin High School.
My name is Thomas Petlock. I am a junior and I go to Austin High School.
Thank you for being here, everybody. My name is Dr. Corey Reynolds. I am the former principal at Roosevelt School, former assistant principal at Park School, and it's my pleasure to be here with you this morning. Our topic of conversation today is focusing on social media, and I have to tell you, I'm a dinosaur, right? So way back in the days, when I was your age, there was no such thing as social media. As a matter of fact, the computer that I had was called a Commodore 64. That computer only had 64 bits of memory. This phone has almost 100,000 times that power than the computer that I had in my household. There was no internet for us. Internet was used by the government only. So there was no way for us to interact with one another as students unless we picked up the phone and actually dialed by spinning this disc that went all the way around and had to come back. Have you ever seen one of those phones? You have. Okay, I'm glad. I don't feel that old anymore. But today's focus on social media is really going to help us understand, through the eyes of middle schoolers and high schoolers, how social media plays a role in our lives, okay? So I have a few questions, and it's a free flow conversation. If you could just respond to the questions and give us some of your experiences. Bring your answers to life as it applies in your world and in your own personal lives, okay? So our first question to start off is, does social media make communicating with your peers easier? Who would like to start? Again, does social media make communicating with your peers easier?
All right. Well, I feel like most definitely it does make social media. Like social media is a platform for having conversations with your friends, because when you think about it, there are friends that go to different schools or different areas that are sort of hard to go when, let's say your parents aren't there. So I think that social media as a way to talk to them, it's a lot easier, especially when also like neighborhood that you go to, like maybe you don't have friends in that neighborhood. So it like helps a lot.
Does anybody else have something that they would like to offer to expand upon this? What does social media, what role does it play in your life? Does it make communicating with your friends easier? What about from a young lady perspective on a high school level?
Well, yeah, pretty much it does. So like what Thomas was saying, like if you don't have friends like in the area, because if you're like antisocial, I guess you could say, it's easier to talk online than talk face to face with someone. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
So if I could just pick out something that you just said. You said if you're antisocial, you can use social media to have conversation.
Okay. I mean like, okay. I'm gonna use like Tumblr as a platform.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people, they don't have a lot of friends in real life, so they will go on there and have like this whole like community of other people that understand what they're going through in like real life, but they don't have to actually like have face-to-face contact.
Face-to-face interaction. So along those lines, does anybody agree, or help me to understand, how many people have friends on social media that they may not have met in real life? Is there anyone who has that?
It can happen a lot. Like, at first, social media starts out as people you know, and then you find each other through it, and then sometimes, say like on Instagram, somebody will friend you or follow you that you don't really know, but like they have your same interests, so you just start talking and then you become friendly without actually meeting them first.
Anybody else have that experience? What about our middle schoolers? Do you have any are you friends with anyone on social media that you may not know in person?
Well, there are a couple people who like follow me sometimes, and it's nice on social media you can get to know friends and like without judging them by like their appearance or anything. And yeah.
Okay, so I've heard this term, people follow me, right? So are followers friends?
No. Okay, so following is like, you can either be like, I'm your friend, or like, I just want to be in your business. So, especially on like Snapchat, because people just post all their business on Snapchat. So, if I'm following you, it's either because I like seeing like what adventures you're doing today, or like, I want to see like who she's dating, who she's hanging out with after school and stuff like that, because I don't have a wife or something like that. So,
Anybody else want to add on to that?
Yeah. To further go off what Adina was saying, followers, there's actually more to it instead of just I want to be in your business or I want to just like follow you in a sense. There's also sort of a danger about that because there could also be people who want to follow you that do not really have good intentions for you. But in most cases, it's those two things, like, oh, I want to be in your business, or look, I just want to follow you. Like, I know with, like, let's say on Instagram, there's, like, the rise of, like, your Insta and your Finsta. Like, people want to, like, get in your business if, like, they follow your Finsta and opposed to your Insta. So.
Okay, so these are terms that I'm not familiar with. So, your Insta and Finsta.
Okay, so a Insta is considered your real Instagram, like the type of Instagram that you want the public to see.
like yourself.
And then your Finsta is like a more personal Instagram. It's more like let's say at school you can't really like express yourself because you feel sort of antisocial. You feel like oppressed by like people in school. Like a Finsta is like a good way to like let that out. So there is good of having a Finsta in a sense. And then for people to follow you to like get in your business, that's not a good intention because then they could leak that out and it can make you feel more oppressed.
Okay. So, how many people have a Insta? Is that it?
Yeah, Insta.
A Insta. How many people have a Insta? So that's real Instagram, right? That's what Insta stands for?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm figuring it out. And how many people have a Finsta, which I'm figuring would be a fake Instagram?
Yeah.
Ah, all right, so a Finsta. All right, so you have two personalities is what you're telling me?
Not,
Yeah, pretty much. Wait, you could talk, but
It's not really personalities. It's just like one is more like closed and you're like one is more opened out. So like you usually Finsta is like private, so only your close friends can see it.
Okay. So help me to understand, how has social media played a role in the development of your self-image? So if you have to have a Rinsta and a Finsta, what type of self-image are you portraying in your Rinsta? And what type of self-image are you portraying in your Finsta?
Well, like, I don't have one, but like I have friends that have Finstas and Rinstas, and mostly like for their Finsta, it's more like creative and like very playful, and like there's like being themselves whenever they want. And then the Rinsta is more kind of like just pictures of like their friends and themselves, but Finstas are more videos of like them like either like dancing or having fun. So it's more like playful, and then for Rinsta it's more like kind of like private.
Okay. Let's get some voices in the room, some other voices.
So my friend, she was showing me her Finsta, and it's more like things that she doesn't really want everybody to see, but things that like describe her, like she's creative about it, and like things that make her unique. With her Insta, she has like pictures of her like in a like pretty outfit or whatever, and it's more like things that like you want people to see you as, like to look at you.
Anybody else want to add on?
Sometimes people on their Finstas, it's not that they have like the two different personalities, or that it's just like, so say on somebody's Rinsta they'll put like them going out somewhere, like their sports games, so that somebody wants to see them as the creative and athletic person. And on their Finsta they'll put them like reading a book or doing their homework or like playing video games, like babysitting, and that's usually for their close friends. And sometimes people will save their Finsta for drama. So sometimes if they want to be seen as the athletic person, they'll save their drama for their Finsta for like all their close friends to really see. And usually a Finsta's on private, so you have to be accepted to see it, but on a Rinsta it's usually public.
So I'm going to say the adult world. If I ever say the adult, you're all young adults, but I'm talking about old people like me, right? So in the adult world, we have the same types of behaviors, but we have different accounts for those, right? So it may not be two Instagram accounts. For instance, I have a Facebook account. So yes, I'm a dinosaur, I still use Facebook, right? And that's for all of my friends and family who ask for permission. I have very strict filters on my Facebook account. But then I have a LinkedIn account. That's my professional account. That's what I use to put forth my professional side, my experiences, my resume, and I make contacts that are business related. I don't ever allow my business side to fall into my Facebook side, but my Facebook side may fall into my business side. Does that make sense? So with that, the reason for me doing that is because I like to have personal interactions on Facebook, and only the portion of my life that I want other people to see on my professional side on LinkedIn. The question and that's to prevent me from having any negative interactions on LinkedIn. So the question I have for you next is your Rinsta more open to negative interactions on social media than your Finsta, or is it vice versa, and why?
For the Finsta, usually it's private and only your friends are watching, so your friends would be negative towards you. But like the Rinsta being that like it's open to anyone, basically anyone who wants to watch it, or that you accept into your account, they can post negative stuff about you. But like, I guess like it depends on like what you post.
Anybody else want to?
From one experience I had on my Rinsta, I posted a picture of my friend, and somebody commented something mean, and that got me thinking, like, that's my real Insta. And somebody who I don't even personally know, because I tried looking at their account, and their account, like, it was a Rinsta, but there was like nothing personal on it. And then I go to my Finsta, and also through experience, sometimes somebody will post something on their Finsta and it'll be about somebody else, and somebody that follows you on your Finsta will tell that person, and then it like attracts a whole bunch of static and drama and everything.
Anybody else? So let's follow that path a little bit. Whenever you have a negative interaction on social media, how do you handle it? What do you do? Has anybody ever had negative interactions on social media? Yeah. Would you like to share your story? And I'm going to ask you not to share names, okay? So if you know the name of a person, the real name, please don't share their name, but you can say this person did X, Y, or Z.
All right. Well, this wasn't like that recent. Like, I mean, like I've been on the low with like social media like for a while in terms of like beefing, but when it comes to that, I'm more of the person to be like, okay, so what, like, why did I deserve to like for you to like do or say X, Y, and Z? Like I'm not gonna like sit there and just like let it happen, in a sense, but I'm not gonna be physical about it. Like, you know, I handle it like in like a civil way, in a way so that like it doesn't escalate in a sense.
Okay, and if I can pull a little bit more at that thread, what actions did you take so that you were able to get your feelings across without making it the situation bigger?
Well, what I did was that initially when it happened, like afterwards, like it was like sort of like rough for a couple of days, but then afterwards, like we talked it out. We felt like said like one-on-one, like listen, and we just talked it out. We were like, listen, why did this have to happen the way it happened? Like what can we do to like solve it basically? And then like it was really like cool after that. Like it really didn't like like get out of control in a sense, because like that's the way I want to handle things. I don't want to like handle it in a way that like people get hurt like physically or like emotionally. So like yeah.
I have to commend you for that. Is there anyone else who have had a negative interaction, Lena?
Well, I think the best thing to do in times like this is to make sure that whatever is happening stays between that specific thing, and make sure it doesn't, branch out too far into the whole school. Because I've had friends who've had experiences where it got so bad that pretty much so many people knew about it, and so many people were trying to squirm their way in to, maybe be noticed and try. And I'm not saying, don't try to help the person who is in such drama, but I'm saying just don't try to, retort or retaliate against a person. Just keep it between someone, and again, make sure it's civil, and don't get it too physical or too.
So help me to understand, how would you go about doing that now? So I anticipate if something were to be said on any of your accounts, that a lot of people would be able to see it. How do you interact with somebody so if there is a problem, it only stays between the two people? What are some things that you can do?
Well, on Snapchat, you can just text the person like just one-on-one. And on Instagram, there is direct messaging or DMing somebody. You can just like text them like privately, just between you two. So like if they comment on your picture, you can like text them like privately and ask them about it instead of like having comments on like your Instagram picture saying, well, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Yeah.
Anybody else? Lena?
Honestly, I would do the opposite. I would try my best to, in school maybe, I would try my best to pull them away and say, hey, can we talk this out? Because if I were to do it on social media, maybe, especially on places like Snapchat, you can see someone screenshotting it, and they have the power to, again, branch off and show it to other people and use it against you. But I think that if you were to go up to them and say, hey, can we talk this out? They can't screenshot a verbal conversation. So therefore it would be a little more civil and easier to use.
Appreciate that. I'm going to come back to your point about screenshotting a little bit later. But the follow-up question I had about that is, we just discussed having two different parts of your life exposed on social media through two different accounts. And then we talked a little bit about how it can become problematic in your lives. The question I have now is, do you think that social media allows people to be different in their interactions with you on social media than they would be in person? And what experiences have you had around that? Anika, could you start us off?
Well, coming from like a high schooler perspective, you get introduced to new experiences, new activities, and everything. And so, say that like Dre is my cousin, and at first we didn't hang out a lot. So like on social media, she's like always out with her friends and everything like that. And in person, she's the same way. But coming from like somebody else on social media, they're like always partying or always doing something fun with their friends. And then meeting them in person, they're actually like very quiet, very like say into their schoolwork and everything like that. And sometimes your social media portrays a different image than how people actually see you in person.
Anybody else like to add?
I think that social media, in a sense, it sort of makes a person feel a certain way about themselves in terms of how they carry themselves, because with social media, you're like behind the screen, so you can say all this talk behind the screen and like do text, and then in person, they might not want to confront you because like that's just how they are. So I feel like social media, in a sense, it's good, but like it can be bad in a sense, because just the fact that like you can like have beef online and then like in person like you can be like all quiet and stuff because you think that like social media can like protect you, but like that leads to like many altercations and stuff.
Yes. Caitlin.
I think that it really depends on the person's personality, because if somebody is really outgoing and they're very self-confident, they'll put like what they really are on their social media. But somebody, if they're like always shy and embarrassed and they don't want to say like what they do, they'll send out a fake image so that they can be seen as something they think is better.
Okay, I appreciate that. So that fake image, if that fake image is used in a negative way, like some of the interactions we spoke about, and Lena, you said you are the type of person who would like to confront somebody face to face. What happens if something is said that's not agreed with on social media at home on the weekend, and then it happens to spill into school? Has anybody ever had that experience, and what's been the result of that? Thomas, just let you have a moment.
Yeah, not personally, but like I've seen those experiences happen, and like usually it ends up being like talked out, or sometimes it might spill into physical violence. Like, say someone like says something negative to somebody, and like person like keeps like feeding, like adding on to it and talking about it, and they're letting their friends know about it, and their friends are posting about it. Like it keeps the person like upset about it, continuing upset until Monday, and the person sometimes like just will set off the person. Because like I think it, not the act of what happened, but the fact that they're building up, they're telling their other friends, they're screenshotting, they're like making it more public. Like the impact of like the publicity of it might like make someone more angry.
Thank you.
I think that social media, like, it can spill into a person's life, and I know that from the perspective of a high school student here, that's been like shown over the past couple of weeks with some of the issues that's been going on has been like a result of certain like drama that's been like going on that could have been aided through social media. So I think that there's like a correlation that could like carry on into a person's like actual life.
I think like what you're saying, since on the weekends, I feel like by the time you even get a chance to say it in person, like everybody has their own versions of the story and like what actually happened, and words get like mixed up, and people like start instigating the problem, and it gets like 10 times worse than it actually needs to be.
Has anyone ever had that type of an experience? Can you show me by raising your hands? Okay. In those instances, have you ever shared with your parents or guardians or family members your negative interactions on social media? And if you haven't, why not?
Well, like when it was negative, like elementary school, like 5th, 6th grade, I probably would have, but like I don't know, maybe now, probably not, because like it's just, like, I feel like sometimes you don't want your parents to see you like in like a negative light, or like to hear what people are saying. It can be like not only hurtful to you but hurtful to your parents to like hear like like they're saying this about my kid. Like I've had friends who have like been negatively attacked, and like their parents like it not only hurt my friend but it hurt her parents as well, because like they're like the things about my kid, like why sometimes it's hard to explain, and like things like that you may have done negatively as well that like may have caused what's happening to you. It's hard to like expose yourself to your parents, like, oh, I've done this, or
Anyone else? Yes.
I'm the type of person to tell my parents everything that's going on with me, but I know the boundaries of what to tell them at what time. So like if I'm dealing with a situation with somebody, I'll tell them, and what they'll usually tell me is like the adult way to handle it, because sometimes the other person thinks they're being an adult by coming at you and yelling, and it's like, no, that's not the way. You talk to them in a civil way, and if anything escalates, just walk away from it. So I know sometimes there's some things I shouldn't tell them because it might worry them too much. So I just know like this is something I can tell them, this is something I can't, for the purpose of them not getting involved and worried.
Do you feel? Go ahead.
I think as you get older, you share less with your parents because I think it's sometimes good that you do that, because you need to learn how to like handle things on your own. And if it gets really bad, you should go to your parents. But if you can work it out on your own, like when you get older, you need to do that. So I think it's good, even if something bad happens, if you learn how to work that out and how to get over that, it's actually a good experience for you.
You know, Caitlin, I would agree with you. You know, as we get older, we do have to learn how to handle things ourselves. I was going to ask a question right before. Do you feel safe on social media all the time? But I want to tie that into your response now. So the question I have for you is, do you feel safe on social media? And when do you know that you should share something with an adult?
I think I guess the part of like the person wanting to meet you in person, like be physical, like you're getting like death threat or something like that, then you should like go to your parents about that. So.
Okay, so death threat, right? That would be your threshold for when you should tell an adult, or
I mean,
is there something like a little bit sooner than a death threat?
I mean,
that they could-
like if the person like what I said before, like if the person wants to meet up in person, like like settle it physically, then you should try to say something about that for everything is sooner.
Does anybody else have a different threshold than even somebody threatening to become physical with you in person? Is there something else that would trigger your response, your responsibility to tell your parents? Is there something else that would make you want to tell your parents about an interaction?
I think if it can affect your school life as well, like if they having to do with like, or if it affects your family as well, like if anyone else other than yourself can be affected by what they're saying, I think that telling an adult or your family member will help, because they can like make sure that everyone will be okay, not just yourself. Because like if that happens, you're worrying about yourself and everyone else. Like it's not your right to care about anyone else as well. Like you can't, like if they're trying to negatively hurt you and like say trying to hurt Onika as well, like I can't be the one to say, oh, I'm gonna handle this myself, because it's two of us now, not just myself.
Lena.
I think that in a perspective of maybe more of a public social media account, if someone you don't know, someone just totally out of the blue tries to come into your life, and not in a maybe a sketchy way, not as in like if you're, let's say you have a photography account on Instagram, and they say, hey, I like the way that you take pictures, I think that you really have a talent. Not like that, but as in a way of, hey, can we meet up or something really sketchy. Is if that's would be a boundary of me to say, oh, this is not okay, I should probably tell someone, and I should also take security things to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again and it doesn't escalate. But on a personal level, I think that like Onika said before, if I don't think that you should tell a trusted someone if it's gonna worry them. I think that for me personally, if I think that I can handle it by myself and I don't really need any other moral support really badly, then I think that I can do it by myself and I don't really need help. But yeah.
Thank you. So I think what I've heard, Lena, from you is if somebody tries to reach out to you that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's when you would get adults involved. I think, Dre, I heard from you that if it were to become physical, right, or some sort of physical threat, that you would get an adult involved, or if it were to affect your school life, you would get an adult involved. Are there any other reasons why we think that we would inform our family members or somebody, a safe adult, whenever you have some sort of an interaction on social media? Is there any other reason or anything else that would set off your internal alarm to say, I need to get somebody involved? Caitlin.
Well, for me, all my social media accounts are private. But if somebody always tries to come in and I reject them, like this happened once, like somebody was they were asking to come in and I rejected them, and then they asked again and I still said no. I think that if they keep on going like that, then that means that there's something wrong and you should tell. Like what happened to me, they only did it a couple times and then they stopped. But if they keep on doing it and then they start sending you texts or whatever saying let me in or something, then you should get somebody involved.
Okay, so if somebody is constantly trying to get some sort of connection with you and you keep denying them and they keep being persistent in doing that, you feel that you should get an adult involved. Okay. So we have a term for that, right? What's that called? Cyber... There you go, cyber stalking, right? So if somebody's cyber stalking you, you should definitely let somebody know. So I do have a couple other questions, if you would indulge me.
Not to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I have
Your
about 2
battery?
minutes left.
Okay, how many?
About 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay.
Is there anything you want to say before you guys go like private?
Yeah, we're going to turn it over to the audience in a minute. So what I'm going to do is do a closing question now, and then we will continue after without the videotape, okay? All right, so for my group, is there anything that you would like to share with anybody who might be watching? Any advice you might have in regards to using social media?
I think that social media, it's a good tool to have, especially in this day and age. It can help not just with your social life, it can help in terms of like networking and other things. With most cases with anything, there's always the positives and the negatives that encompass with anything. And social media, there just happens to be really good. There's like a huge middle part, and then there's like the extreme negatives. So I think that social media, as long as you know what you're doing, in a sense, or you know your boundaries, I think that you'll be fine. And yeah, just do that.
Anyone else? Yes, Rhea.
Oh, Tom, just saying about boundaries. I think that like everyone should know that colleges look at this stuff. Like the colleges have they can access you in your accounts. They can portray a student from your high school or old friend. They can get into your account, and anything negative that they see could affect your college acceptance or not acceptance into the place of choice. And I think that also, when it comes to boundaries, you shouldn't I think everyone has a sense of what they shouldn't be posting on social media. Nothing too personal, because that could be done in face to face to your friends. So you should have a thick boundary of what you should not be posting. So if you go off that boundary, you can't really blame somebody, because I think that it's common sense not to post things things too personal about yourself. And again, make sure that you know that colleges can see this stuff.